When I wrote it,
Did you mean it?
I meant it when I wrote it because
Okay, but you don't mean it now?
I
Now.
do not mean it now.
Do you have your advocate hat on today?
I am no longer an advocate.
You don't tell the truth when you're an advocate, but you do when you're not? Is it okay to lie if you're an advocate?
I don't follow the question.
This judge just said, "We the people" excludes women and people of color here, guys. Kennedy just found the quote, read it to her face. Let's account to her, guys.
Judge Cheeks, I see you're quite a prolific writer, and you say I heard you answer Senator Durbin's question. You said you don't take a position in these articles?
I said I tried not to take a position in most of my articles.
Well, you didn't succeed. In October 2020, you published an article entitled, "I Can't Breathe." You remember that article?
I do remember that article.
Okay. You were talking about Mr. George Floyd's tragic death. Here's what you said, quote, your words, not mine, quote, "What happened next after Mr. Floyd's death is nothing short of amazing. Mostly peaceful protest."
Mostly
peaceful protest
okay.
broke out almost immediately in Minneapolis, and the use of excessive force by police officers became the villain in a sea of protesters, end quote. Did I read that accurately?
That sounds correct, yes, Senator.
Guys, did we see the same thing? Because I saw what happened here, but we'll talk later.
All right, and then in October of 2019, you wrote an article entitled "Raising Responsibility: A Concerned Parent's Perspective." You remember that?
I do remember that, yes.
Did you take a position in that article?
I recall my position being talking about how am I going to address issues with my
So
children.
you did take positions, unlike what you told Senator Durbin.
What I told Senator Durbin that I try not to take positions.
Okay. Well, I want to read you from your article. Quote, your words, not mine. "Needless to say, I have a guarded opinion about the police. How do I teach my sons to respect them and fear them at the same time? There can be no question that police officers have some of these same internal or external biases." Let me repeat that. There can be no question that police officers, not some,
Every single one of them.
all police officers have some of these same internal or external biases described above. Do some of them view black males differently than others? I think so. Sounds like a position to me. Do some think black males are more dangerous than others? I think so. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you read that correctly.
All right, now, and then in May of 2019, you remember writing an article for a publication, the title of the article, excuse me, the title of your article in which you say you didn't take a position was called "The Federal Dungeon Part 2, Court Proceedings." You remember that?
I do.
Okay. And you were talking about, it was then under President Trump, not President Biden. The Department of Justice then had a zero tolerance for illegal entry into the United States, because that, of course, is the law. And this is what you said about that. Quote, "Technically, the law was broken, but these particular defendants, poor, hungry, hardworking, and not dangerous, deserve a pass from prosecution."
Really?
End quote.
Oh no, guys.
Saying that illegal immigration should not be criminalized is a position, is it not?
It is. What I'd like to add is that everything that I wrote while I was an advocate, not a sitting judge.
Oh, I
Does
see.
this matter?
That's a difference. Did you mean it when you wrote it?
Of course he did, guys.
When I wrote it,
Did you mean it?
I meant it when I wrote it because
Okay, but you don't mean it now?
I
Now.
do not mean it now.
So if you
Right
take
now.
off your advocate hat today, do you have your advocate hat on today?
I am no longer an advocate. I'm a sitting magistrate
Okay,
judge.
so you
Yeah, okay, bro.
you don't tell the truth when you're an advocate, but you do when you're not? Is it okay to lie if you're an advocate?
I don't follow the question.
I
Oh
think
my
it's pretty
God,
clear, and I
guys.
think
Yeah, it
you
is.
follow it.
Absolutely.
You've taken a lot of radical positions, Judge, and you can't make this catwalk backwards. Now,
What?
you can't make this catwalk backwards. I have one question for our second judge here. Judge, you remember a couple of years ago going on a broadcast called Visible Voices Podcast? All right,
Oh, that sounds
here's what you
super
said.
lefty.
It was just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So we're not talking way back in law school or anything. We're talking about a couple of years. You'd been on the bench how long? 8 years then?
I've been on the bench almost 10.
Yeah, well, but when you said this
So
in
almost-
front of God and
okay.
country, you'd been on the bench 8. You said it in January 31, 2022. Here's what you said, quote, I think that COVID has brought a lot of these issues to bear,
Okay.
especially in the legal profession, where I tell a lot of people all the time, we, the people, never included people of color or women. When you have an institution that is set up by property owning white men for 200 years or so, it wasn't geared towards thinking about what would be the best work schedule or how we could really incorporate women with children in this field. So it's been a challenge that COVID was exacerbated. End quote. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, Senator, you did.
And then you go on later in the podcast to call for quotas based on gender, don't you?
No, sir, I never,
Yes, you
ever
do.
claimed
If the
anything
senator
about
will give
quotas.
me time, I'll read what you said.
Please read it. Read it now. Read it fast.
May I finish reading what you said? The witnesses denied believing in quotas based on gender, and I have the quote.
Senator, you may read the quote, and then she will give an opportunity to
Okay,
respond.
here's your quote, Judge.
Let's hear it.
Your words, not mine. Quote, I think recognizing implicit bias is really important. Me too. But I'll be honest, I don't think that's enough. Because the truth of the matter is nobody is going to voluntarily give up their position in favor of women. Women have to demand it. Women have to be willing to require and hold people accountable, hold men who are in those positions accountable, and say, quote, why don't we have an equal number of supervising judges, close quote. You didn't tell me the truth, did you? You believe in quotas based on gender, don't you?
Senator, your time's expired. I'd let the witness respond.
Thank you. No, I have never advocated on behalf of quotas.
Never?
I think it's
We just heard it.
undisputed
Well,
that
what
at the
was
time,
this?
We just heard it.
Please.
I just read it.
I
continue
think
to
at the
respond.
time that the Constitution was written, there is no question that it did not include women, and it did not include people of color in the definition of we the people. We, as women and people of color, have only recently been able to be judges or jurors or politicians. But the systems that were created when I was excluded and when people of color were excluded continue. All I was commenting upon is that the diversity in the judiciary builds integrity in the system and public confidence in those institutions. I never mentioned anything about quota. Thank you.
So the idea of landowners specifically being able to vote and kind of have the deciding factor in what actually happens, I do think that that's absolutely a more conducive way to kind of do things here. And the reason why I say this here is because I think who has more stake in whatever country they're in rather than someone other than someone who actually owns a piece of said country, right? Like the ones who actually pay consistently, not the ones who receive money consistently, right? But that's just my opinion when it comes to who should legitimately be the ones having the deciding factor on which way the country is actually moving going forward here. But now, to her point here, there was no one else in the room except for the people that were in the room, and they all were definitely one type of person, right? That's the reality of that situation there. But I do think that, and in the grand scheme of things, we have moved way past a good amount of that argument, guys. But saying something as inflammatory as what we just encountered here is not really beneficial. I think any logical, common sense, non-partisan, non-echo chambered individual would listen to that point specifically and say, "No, okay, let's move on though," right? Because we cannot dwell specifically in the past, because how can we move forward if every single day we're being reminded of something that happened, 300-400 years ago, guys? As I've always been against the idea of activist judges. I don't think that they actually have the ability to kind of remain neutral and unbiased here. And a good amount of these judges, of course, they have a past of like political activism. That's most likely the reason why they became judges in the first place here. But the problem is when your political past basically comes creeping back up here again, all right, and is able to be thrown back into your face, guys, you said these things. That means these things represented you. And the fact that because you now have a position of power, you're going to now say, I don't know, I no longer believe these things, but trust me, the coffee table, dining room table conversations are just like exactly how they wrote years before they became judges here, guys. They are exactly who they are. Generally, people don't change here. Generally, people don't change. They just change the perception of themselves to the public and to the people around them. That's basically it. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. If you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. But in the meantime, guys, I'll go and catch you guys later.